Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Consuela Chapman,
I'm Umani Matua.
and welcome to
Kinfolk Chronicles Family Ties, our very first podcast.
our very first podcast, and I'm so excited that we are doing it today. Really the month of July because it's Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and I thought it would be fitting that we talk about stigma.
Let's get into it.
All right. So, Amani, when you hear stigma, what kind of comes to mind?
I have to relate it personally because stigma generally just means sort of a mark or stain that people will put upon you, society specifically will put on you, and will use to judge you, categorize you, stereotype you, or otherwise alienate or other you. That's what comes to mind specifically for me. I know I identify as a black man. I'm not the smallest person in the world. I put my hair down specifically for this episode because I want the locks to be seen, because generally those can be heavily stigmatized in the workplace, corporate offices, honestly, anywhere you go, the streets, my family, police, school.
Stigma definitely creates a power dynamic.
Yeah. Absolutely. And those power dynamics generally come in the form of authority figures, people who can put obstacles or barriers in your path. So I think it's good, especially during Mental Health Awareness Month, that we sort of destigmatize stigma.
So I had the pleasure of attending the Wake County Opioid Settlement Workforce Coalition meeting today, and they had some really great resources, and they had an activity that I want to share with you all, the listeners, and you, Amani, because you weren't able to attend, but it's basically a range of strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. And it's a couple of statements, and so we're going to start off with.
Let's do it, and our listeners, y'all just follow along and make sure that you strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree as well.
Right. Although I don't necessarily agree with them, sometimes I have prejudiced feelings, like gut reactions or spontaneous thoughts toward drug users that I don't feel I can prevent.
I would say I agree.
Yeah, I agree, because we can't control what we think.
Absolutely.
Right? But once the thought pops in our mind, we can redirect it. We can challenge it, right?
Yes, we can definitely moderate it and neutralize our biases.
Exactly. I understand the experience of being stigmatized as a drug user. I put disagree.
Let's say it one more time.
I understand the experience of being stigmatized as a drug dealer. I haven't walked in those shoes, so I can only speculate. But until you walk in those shoes, you really can't understand the full experience of the stigma a drug user uses.
A drug dealer or drug user?
Drug user.
I mean, I'm going to have to agree here. Not as a drug user myself, but I get assumptions placed on me. Drug dealer and user, actually. I've been accused of being both randomly by police before.
Kind of like the stigma associated with your look and your build and just as a person of color with locks.
Absolutely. I've smoked a cigarette with my window down before, got pulled over, and they told me they smelled marijuana. I thought that that was sort of something you just see in the movies, or sometimes people over exaggerate, but it happens more than you think. So I'm gonna have to put agree.
Sometimes I am uncomfortable around people who are very different from me. Initially I had put disagree, but then I had to, have like a reality check. Yeah, I agree that sometimes, because the language. It's not all the time, but there are some times that I am uncomfortable. And I think there's an element of these people that are different from me, that whether they consciously or subconsciously posed to make me feel uncomfortable.
So you think that they're attempting to?
Oh, most definitely. I worked briefly in the correctional system, and the trainer. This is the trainer. This is like the first week, part of the onboarding and all this kind of stuff. The trainer, a white lady, made a point to tell me she's got friends with the KKK. Now,
that's a doozy.
I'm thinking, what does this got to do with, you know?
Absolutely
nothing. Exactly, you know. But, you know, you're trying to intimidate me. You're trying to, whatever it was, you're trying to make me feel uncomfortable in this space. And at the same time, I never forget, one of the other correctional officers moseyed on in there to let me know that everyone's tight. And we look out for each other around here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't ask.
So, yeah, there are times I'm uncomfortable around people who are very different from me. And these people were different from me because I would have never, ever, ever, ever made those type of comments or shared that type of information with an employee.
Or
particularly an employee of color who is not
tight with you like that.
No, not that's a non-white employee from a white employee telling them that they got friends with the KKK. Yeah.
And then it was furthered by him saying we're all tight, or someone else coming and saying we're all tight, we're all connected, we're all like this, and you know you're outside of that group.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm gonna say, yeah, I think that I walked in a lot of different rooms, and while you know people can, what is it, code switch?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I still think that sometimes you have to act a little unlike how you actually are, and so that feeling internally will make you feel uncomfortable to be around people who are not like you.
Okay. It is not appropriate for me to talk about my drug and alcohol use with clients. You're, as a peer support person, and as a recovery coach,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
That kind of came up in our training. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm going to strongly agree with that. I don't mind having a drink every now and then, but it's not something that I would like to share personally with my clients and people who are going through recovery themselves. Don't need things like that thrown in their face. I think it's important to be honest, but there's a certain amount of information that you should withhold.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's a rule of thumb when it comes to self-disclosure as a clinician. How is it helping the client reach their goals, right? And so there's a point where we a lot of times use self-disclosure to normalize. Mm-hmm. And I'm of one, hey, I get it. If I'm not drinking and then I'm gonna go around my cousins and they like, hey, you want to drink? Yeah, there's pressure, there's pressure to assimilate with what everybody's doing. So I get it. And I may have drank the week before, but I may not want to drink then. And the plan isn't to drink, but I may have a drink because it's offered to me. So using it as an example, as a person that's in recovery, they'll get it because it's a common situation that comes up around family members, especially if, your kinfolk have a situations and get-togethers where alcohol is prevalent.
So would you say that there are times when you can help by disclosing that? Because they'll understand, or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, she is much more experienced than I am, so I mean, there probably is. I was thinking originally that, I might make them feel some sort of temptation by even bringing it up. But I guess, we all have lived experiences, so it makes sense.
So when you think about a lot of these people, even the trainers, both of them disclose, they're like, hey, we're in recovery. We used to use, we understand. I used to, one of the guys was like, I used to smoke, heavily. Now that I'm a non-smoker, I'm like, no, y'all don't need to, this is something that I'm, very adamant about trying to get people to stop smoking, but At no point is he saying, I'm not going to let anybody know I smoke. No, he's going to let you know because he understands how nicotine is one of the hardest things to quit. It's one of the most addicting substances,
Right after coffee.
Sugar.
No, that's a big one.
Right. The next one, I trust drug users just as much as I trust non-drug users. And I'm going to be real with y'all. I had to think about that one for a minute. I trust drug users just as much as I trust non-drug users. And at the end of the day, I said people are people, and whether they're using drugs or not has nothing to do with their character, because people use drugs for different reasons. Nobody uses drugs to become addicted, and addiction is a disease. It's a brain disease. It's a chronic disease, just like diabetes, just like high blood pressure, heart disease, you name it. What?
I'm gonna say I trust them as much as non-drug users, because at the end of the day, you don't actually know who is a drug user and who is not, and you do have to take people at face value. And I think that everyone's story is valid, even if you don't agree with it. So you can have someone who seems like they have it all together, and they can be a functional drug user, and you can see someone who doesn't have it together, and they could never have touched a substance in their entire life, and one could be more trustworthy than the other. I don't think that's a good metric to decide who to trust.
Exactly. Now, this was one of the questions I had a lot of people being like, a lot of conversation at the tables. If a woman is pregnant, she has a responsibility to stop taking drugs. I put strongly agree. Now, the people at my table disagree. Okay?
I think that's bold.
And let me kind of explain why I put strongly agree.
Absolutely.
Aside from being pregnant, it's the individual's responsibility to stop using drugs. Recovery is an individual journey, right? Well, let me back up.
I'm with you.
Healing, right? I feel like recovery and healing kind of go hand in hand, right? It is a individual's journey, but it's part of a community of hope and support that determines the outcome or the success of the recovery. It's not something that somebody can do alone. So it's the responsibility of that mother to seek the help, right? Or whether you're a mother, father, pregnant or non-pregnant person, it's your responsibility to seek the help that you need. It's your responsibility to, when we think about admitting that you have a problem, because if you don't think you have a problem, you're not going to get any help. You're looking like you disagree. Tell me, talk to us.
Well, I thought that was insightful, first of all. So you also have the added benefit for the question about being a woman, I think. So,
but this was just my a lot of the women didn't agree.
What was their perspective?
They were like, there was other, other factors to consider. I think the caveat was the fact that she was pregnant. I kind of took that out. I think that was like to kind of throw us off. If a woman is pregnant, she has a responsibility to stop taking drugs.
So you're just saying that women should have responsibilities to stop.
Whether you're a woman or man, right.
Okay, I could see how. Okay.
But then, I also used the example of.
That's an interesting perspective. That's a right way to look at it, actually, because
as a gun owner,
it could be irrelevant almost.
Right. And I said, as the gun owner who leaves their gun in the house, and someone in the house uses his gun, is the homeowner and the owner of the gun responsible?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I said as the vessel, right? Because they have the vessel. So the woman is the vessel, right? Isn't it her job to protect the fetus?
I see where you're going
Yeah.
with this. Yeah.
Yeah. But I digress. I just always went back to just as a woman, as an individual, it's our responsibility to stop taking drugs. And I took responsibility meaning initiating care, initiating support. Not like, I'm just going to stop tomorrow because I want to stop.
Yeah.
Because it's not that easy.
Right.
Yeah.
So at least, like you said, initiate the process. Be proactive about your healing. No one else can do it for you. I'm going to have to go strongly agree.
Okay. Drug users have difficult time practicing safe sex consistently. I put agree because I was like, access to contraception. The lady at the table was like, well, we have free contraception at our clinic every day. People come in there every day. And that may be the case. But are you open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Yeah. So there may be times where contraception may not be available for that person. And it may make it difficult for them to practice safe sex.
I think I'm going to have to go disagree on this one, Consuela. I think as a society, we kind of make sexual health a more difficult and stigmatized subject than it should be. Nudity in general. I think that it should be way easier to acquire contraceptives in all areas, rural, urban, inner city, suburban. Maybe that's the same thing in a way, but
if you're living on the street, because let's be honest, depending on where people are in their addiction, some are living on the street. Some don't have access to get to a clinic to get contraception. Some don't have money. That's not a priority for them. Now there is things like PrEP. Again, you need to see a doctor. You need to get a prescription. You got to have the money for the copay. So all these different factors came into my mind when it was like, does drug users have a difficult time practicing safe sex consistently? The key was consistently.
I found myself wanting to debate this one, but I think I'm going to have to go over to your side on this one.
All right.
Yeah, I think that generally there would be a higher percentage of times where they're unable to practice safe sex.
Drug users have meaningful participation in developing policies and programs at my organization. Drug users have meaningful participation in developing policies and programs at my organization. I put agree because I think the Carter Clinic does an excellent job in their peer support services and having the voice of the peer of what lived experience help in developing policy and programs.
I'm going to go agree with this too. The older gentleman and younger lady who trained me were excellent trainers. Just an abundance of professionalism, and they were very, very open about their history with drug use, and it was not a small amount. So the fact that they can turn their lives around, keep themselves in recovery consistently, and give us the knowledge that we needed to become the best certified peer support specialist that we can be, I'm going to have to say that the Carter Clinic absolutely can incorporate former and even maybe present drug users into the fold when it comes to developing policy to help those in their shoes or the shoes they once wore.
Because the reality of it is there has been a shift societal-wise in regards from abstinence to more of a harm reduction standpoint. And that means for some people, they may not want to stop using. They may not be able to stop using. but they can decrease the use. They may use or exchange new needles for clean needles, and still be able to get up and go to work. I remember getting a call from, an administrator at a school one time who had played football in college, ended up getting addicted to opiates, and the doctor cut him off, and so then he had to go to the street, and started using heroin, and he was going through withdrawal, but it's so common. It is so common. People are suffering in silence because of stigma.
Absolutely, absolutely. Where do you go for help when you're being judged? We all know being judged is not a great feeling. Being told what to do without a reason why, without a helping hand, without guidance doesn't feel great.
Being spoken to in a tone of disdain. How to avoid language that stigmatizes drug users. We got so many crackhead. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
That was like you ready to fight somebody call you a crackhead, because that was like the lowest of the low.
And it's still used to this day. Absolutely. I completely agree with that.
Or what are you doing? Tweaking? Or they there's just the language. Again, it's used to create this power dynamic, and even when it's spoken, the tone and pitch is in a belittling tone to the person. And at the end of the day, whether you're using or not, you're human, and as a human, you deserve respect.
Another part about stigma, in the same vein, I think, is it's hard to ask for help. We were talking about judgment earlier, but not just from the people who you want help from, but say word gets out somehow, rumors, gossip. We know that not everyone is in our profession, right? And, just like the words you just used, the names, and the name calling goes around, and now your reputation can be damaged, and there are people who don't care to destigmatize things. There are people who believe that harshness or a mean tone is the answer, So it's going to be a long battle to destigmatize drug use. I do like the idea of harm reduction instead of just abstinence, whatever works for you, obviously. However, I think that harm reduction sort of puts it in the user's hand, that it's one day at a time, one step at a time.
It's empowering.
Yes.
The choice is very empowering. So the final one on here it talks about really taking a look inward. Although it's hard to admit, I sometimes judge people who cannot stop using drugs. And even as a clinician, I can recall in my early career where, and even aside from my career, family members, I'm not going to sit up here and act like, I don't have family members that is just, and it's sad. So, when you see the decline and the choices that have been made over time, and the opportunity to change and receive the help, and it's rejected, I have to admit, I have an opinion.
Well, you're human. You're going to have opinions. You're going to have thoughts, and I'm going to have to agree with that as well, because there's a difference between being proactive in your recovery and shirking the responsibility of getting better. A lot of people like to blame others, put it off till tomorrow, procrastinate, and generally disregard what the people are saying, even if, like you said, if you're a qualified professional clinician. And That must be real tough, especially if you spend hours and hours trying to coach and guide these people or this person. And I think that it's natural to have a reaction of sort of frustration, right?
And, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to whether you're a clinician or a family member, whatever hat that you're wearing, we want the best for you. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we're willing to bend over backwards to get you to that light. But you have to want to get to the light too.
And that is the first step.
Okay. So we're not going to keep you. We do want to tell you about some resources that are available and tell you about this excellent program that the Carter Clinic has. So as a recipient of the opiate settlement funds, we are able to offer, hear this folks, free med management appointments for the uninsured and underinsured. Free peer support and recovery group, smart recovery group. And
we're here to help.
We're here to help. I mean, we also can connect you to medication, access to free medication through our partners with Wake County. Need help? Contact the Carter Clinic, PA. We have 12 locations across North Carolina.
Our main location, Raleigh, 4009 Barrett Drive. Coming at any time. And if you are not in the Raleigh-Durham area, then you can just type in the Carter Clinic and go to our website, and you'll see also of our locations. We likely have services or resources in your county.
And again, that program Reach, we serve all of Wake County, so we are eliminating cost as a barrier to care. That group is Tuesdays from 5:30 to 6:30. If you are a community organization, a church, a nonprofit, and you want to have us come out and do a lunch and learn and tell individuals about our program, talk about the stigma and how to combat it, reach out to us. My email is cchapman, CHAPMAN, at thecarterclinic.com. And I can be reached at 919-355-9145. Yeah.
The Carter Clinic has locations in Raleigh, Fayetteville, Smithfield, Shelby, Wilmington, Elizabethtown, Kinston, Wilson, Dunn, Whiteville, Lumberton, and Laurinburg. Our number for our main office, and this is where you'll be directed to before we transfer you to any one of these other offices when you call, is 919-848-0132. Again, we're at 4009 Barrett Drive, Suite 100, Raleigh, North Carolina. We'd love to have you. We're here to help, and please believe me when I say all the professionals here try their best to optimize care, and they do care deeply.
And we do. You couldn't do this work if you really didn't have a passion for helping. Service truly feeds our soul. And one last thing, we are accepting guests. So if you're interested in being a guest on our podcast,
please just reach out. My email is amutua@thecarterclinic.com.
Awesome. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on our first episode of Kinfolk Chronicles, Family Ties. We look forward to having you back, and we will keep supplying with more resources, services, and do our best to show that we care across the entire community.
Yay!
Thanks, Consuela.
Thank you, Amani.